Please be seated. See, I am sending you out like sheep into the midst of wolves. Well, that sounds frightening. But then Jesus never says that following him won't be scary. He just says that he will be always with us, even when it is scary. Following Jesus is not easy. It's rarely cozy, and it does require us to embrace varying levels of discomfort. And I don't know about you, but when my anxiety starts to spike, I find it really, really hard to stay focused on what is clear and present before me, because I'm usually leaping ahead to the most dire of consequences. And this particular gospel passage is so chock full of so many really intense images that by the time I get to the end of it, I can't remember most of the details because I'm a quivering bundle of nerves. Sheep in the midst of wolves, they will hand you over to be flogged, brother betraying brother, children rising against parents. You will all be hated because of me. I'm suddenly picturing Jesus sounding like Galadriel when Frodo offers her the One Ring, which is really, really scary. It's easy for me to flip into a kind of survival mode at this point, except that I usually bypass fight and blow right past fright and gel into a kind of frozen panic state. And because of that, I forget a lot of the really important things in this passage. Like first, I forget who he's actually talking about, who these wolves are that he's sending us out to. They're not savage barbarians. They're not the sons of anarchy. They're not even from all that far away. Remember, he says, go nowhere among the Gentiles, enter no town of the Samaritans. The people he's sending us to are really close by. They are our co-religionists, really. He's sending us to the people we know, the people who know us, our families, our friends, our neighbors. And what's so scary about that? We know them. Now, okay, we all know that family relationships can be some of the most fraught and challenging that many of us will ever face. And we also know that friendships can be full of friction and misunderstandings and hurt, and that all of our close relationships require work and presence, faithfulness and forgiveness. They require us to stretch and learn and grow. And yes, sometimes it might feel like everyone has turned on you, or that for your own safety you might have to remove yourself from some relationships. That's all true, but Jesus is not sending us into Squid Game. And I also don't think that he's saying that these scary things are inevitable, that they will always happen. I think he's just being honest about what can and does happen in some really close relationships. Another thing that I lose track of when I'm frozen in anxiety is, what is he actually asking us to do? In the gospel, he talks about casting out unclean spirits and curing diseases and even raising the dead, which all sounds totally not doable on so many levels. But then we have to remember that there's a good deal that is lost in translation from both the Greek into the English and from the first century into the 21st century. The Greek text doesn't actually say cure, it says heal. And it's the same root from which we get the words therapy and therapeutic. So while it can mean heal, it can also mean serve or care for or treat. And those things are very doable. Likewise, the word for raising the dead can also mean rouse or wake up. And do we really think that Jesus never, ever used a metaphor? That everything he said was absolutely literal? What if he's not talking about actual dead people, but rather people who are dead in their faith, who are bereft not of life, but of spirit? And he's asking us to rouse them back into life, encourage them back into the community, or perhaps gently waking the despairing with a dose of hope. And what about casting out demons? It could mean actual exorcism, but again, read a bit more metaphorically, couldn't Jesus be asking us to help people let go of or exorcise any of the degrading and demonic energies that we continually become enthralled to? Money, power, image, nation, ideology, all of those things that end with ism, things that we might now characterize more as addictions rather than evil spirits, but they are no less destructive for that. And all of these things, remember, the healing, the rousing, the casting out, they're all really in service to the central message. They're examples that point to the central core message. And it's really this core message that we're supposed to be focused on. And what is that core message? Proclaim the good news. And what is the good news? It's that the reign of God is near. That God is near. God is here. Love is here. Peace is here. Justice is here. Even in the midst of all that is hard and difficult and even unjust and even falling apart, God is here and present. And we are to be the proclaimers of that simple, unavoidable truth. Proclaiming the good news can be as simple as saying, we are here with you, and God is here with us. And then doing what needs to be done. Really, all Jesus is inviting us to do is tell the story. Tell our story of how we come to know and experience God's love. How we find hope and share it in our lives. How we work with others to build communities where all are welcomed and cherished. And that's not all that scary, is it? But I don't know what to say. I don't know the Bible. I'm not a theologian. I'm not even sure that I'm a very good Christian on most days. See, that's the anxiety talking again. And another thing that anxiety always seems to make us forget is that Jesus has already given us the authority, has already given us his authority to do this. He tells us this over and over and over again. You don't need any more. You have everything you need to do this. Don't bother taking anything with you. Don't worry about what you're going to say. Just show up. Be present. Get quiet if you need to. And believe me, you will need to, so that you can listen, so that you can hear. Let peace come upon you. And the words will come. The right words and the right actions will come. And if you say something wrong, learn from it and move on. If you cause harm, apologize, make amends, learn from it, and move on. And if they won't listen to you, learn from it, shake it off, and move on. But keep showing up. Keep serving and tending and caring. Keep telling the story. And if you do that, then you will be, in the words of our collect today, proclaiming God's truth with boldness and ministering God's justice with compassion. And really, that's all that Jesus asks us to do. And that's not so scary, right? Amen.